Hello, everybody. Let's welcome you to the first of our capital planning meetings for fiscal year 24 and beyond. Today is January 23rd. We have today, please note that this meeting is being live and will be on TCAM as well, so it is being recorded. We have, we'll call the meeting to order with roll call vote.
Joanne Bazikis.
Mark Hussey.
And Teresa Morse are present, so we do have a quorum. We'll add, in addition to this meeting, we are going to add, because we had to cancel the last week's capital planning meeting due to the snowstorm, we are going to add the police chief will be here to present his capital budget. And because the cemetery did not have anything to present tonight, we are deleting the capital planning from presentation from the department head of the cemetery department. So we are going to start with Jim Smith, right?
Yep.
James, you go by James or Jim?
Jim's fine.
Jim Smith with the presentation of his request for, as the department head for the highway department. Okay,
All right.
take it away.
So for FY25, we're requesting the $13,200 for the third payment of our lease that we have on our loader, our front end loader. It was a 5-year lease, so.
And this would be the last payment?
No.
This is three.
Oh,
This is year
I'm
3.
sorry. Okay, yeah.
And then you'll see the, for FY26 and 27, it's the 31.1.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's a dollar buyout. So that'll cover the lease that we have going. The other two that we're requesting is the International CV plow and sander dump trucks. What those are those, they're kind of a multifunctional truck, I guess. They're just under the CDL limit. They're a 23,000 pound GVW truck. So
you don't need a
no
CDL?
CDL required. We're finding it kind of difficult right now to find CDL drivers.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do, there's, they're restricted to just automatics. We only have 2 in our fleet right now out of 6. And as you know, with these forms here, our fleet's aging. They're getting pretty old. They're 20, 30 years old.
Yeah.
So these trucks, I have some pictures here. These trucks here will replace 2 trucks. So these will replace a 6-wheeler and a 1-ton.
Oh.
A 6-wheeler is, roughly $280,000, $300,000. 1-ton's roughly 90,000. I figure that's 390. With one of these trucks replacing 2, you're saving $210,000.
So these perform much better, or?
So these are a lighter truck.
Right, that's what I'm looking for.
I think it'll be easier. I hear they do. We don't have any in our fleet, so would we introducing them to the fleet? And like I said, finding help, it would make it easier.
I totally get that part.
So you could potentially bring in laborers, versus truck drivers with CDLs.
Other towns seem to be doing this?
They do. They are. I know they're big in like New Hampshire, Vermont.
It's so hard to get
They
the-
have the wing too, which is nice.
That's what I saw, yeah.
So,
That's nice.
yeah, so 2 requesting two of them, so two of them will potentially replace 4 trucks.
That's pretty good.
So when I say 4, that would be 2 6-wheelers and 2 1-tons.
My concern with that, and just tell me where I'm wrong in my thinking, but if you're not used to this truck, if you don't know a lot about that truck, right? Wouldn't it make more sense to get one at first and see if it does the job and then do 2 next year?
You
That's a
could,
very good point.
you could, but with that truck too, you gotta look at it like it's replacing our 1-tons as well.
Yeah,
So
but what
If
if
that
that
doesn't
plan
perform-
doesn't work?
if that doesn't perform, let's say it didn't perform as taking the place of our bigger trucks, it's still replacing our 1-tons. You follow me?
Still need to replace those anyway, right?
And you still need to replace those anyways. We need those.
So
in
you're
our fleet.
hoping that this would do,
So we'd actually, in the end, if these do, they work like we plan on them working, we're gonna reduce the amount of trucks that we actually have in our fleet. Follow me?
right, yeah, I do.
And
But
making it easier on the
But I
health.
understand what Harry's saying too, is if it won't cut the mustard, we buy 2 of those, now we still gotta go up to the bigger truck and not buy another one of those, or am I wrong?
Well, with these 2 trucks, you could put them in Timley Park. I kind of thought about it,
Yeah,
in Route 13. So we have a truck that basically designated for Route 13. Does it need to be a big 6-wheel truck? No, it does not. One of these trucks.
one
would
of
be
these
perfect-
trucks would do
Would
13,
be
you feel?
perfect for it.
So
They're
even though
easy to
you're
get
not
around.
100% convinced that you know the truck, you know enough about it to feel comfortable saying
Getting the
that.
2, yeah, so, and then in the park, I mean, everything in Timley Park, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but it's tight in there. And
Yeah, and a bigger truck, yeah, I could see that application.
it'd be
I
great,
could.
it'd be great for in the
It's
park.
more maneuverable,
Um,
for sure.
And then you got, like the Warren Road area, which would be fine for that as well, because it's got the wing. So those 2 trucks, yes,
So what if you only got one this year? What problem would that make?
we would just fall a year behind. I'd like to see all these trucks replaced within 5 years.
Yeah.
They're so old as it is.
Oh, no, totally get
it's-
that too, but
It's,
I think Terry has a good point.
sure,
Is it gonna take will those 2 really take the place of 4 trucks?
But,
We kind of think so, but
right,
we ain't sure.
Yep.
Okay.
but if let's say we have storms,
Mm-hmm.
you've got 1 truck where you really need 2 trucks, then what do you do with that 1 truck? And you leave that same person in that truck's gonna run 24 hours a day then, right? Basically, if you only.
He's just
you're
gonna
down
have to
one
put
truck
more
instead of
trucks
2.
on his, more time and
More time
lack
on the
of drive
truck, yeah.
on the big trucks.
yeah, so you'd be,
The problem with the big trucks is the drivers, that's the biggest
Well, I
problem.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
That's one of the
the
biggest-
part case, the maneuverability, but
Consume a lot more gas, though, the big trucks,
they consume more gas.
yeah,
and 2 more people.
yeah. They haul more. I guess you would have to come back a little bit more for the salt, because these don't hold quite as
so
much.
there'd be a savings in labor then, because the driver wouldn't be qualified
Correct.
as a CDL
There would
also,
be.
am I right? Yeah.
There would be a savings there as well.
Yeah.
It is very challenging. Every storm that we have, with trucks going down, we have trucks go down every storm. And then, I'm shifting guys around, and then our contractors' trucks go down, and then I could go on and on and on. But these trucks, they need to be replaced, and if you get one, that's great. If you get 2, that's fantastic.
You understand my
So-
concern a little
Sure,
bit.
sure.
So
I do.
what
Now,
is what is the actual trucks, the 4 trucks that are being replaced?
What are the 4 trucks? So did you guys get any of the pictures I had sent?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
yes,
probably-
yes.
we looked- I'm not gonna tell you, I studied it before class. I studied
I
it,
just got it. so
I
can see
studied
that.
it 2 minutes before class.
So I'm looking at one,
So you got one of our 6-wheelers here.
Okay.
And these are our oldest now. So
Okay.
these are the oldest of the fleet. And you can see in the pictures, the rot.
what
know-
year are they, I'm just curious.
Let's
Around.
see, so the 6. Let's see, the 6 is 27 years, so.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine, 27 years old, that's all I gotta know.
Get your money.
So
I was
one-
gonna do the math, so that's
So one's
good.
replacing a 27-year-old 6-wheeler and the other one's replacing the 22-year-old 1-ton. So, and then we have let's see. And then we have the other one would replace,
Big hole in it.
a 23-year-old truck, and a 12-year-old truck.
Okay, yeah, I see it on your drawings. Okay,
So, and what I say by replacing the 1-tons as well is, these are like, they're low-profile trucks. So you can kind of see, so you can still work out of them, like, kind of like a 1-ton or an F550. They're 4-wheel drive, which is
Yeah.
nice.
And it comes with the plows and everything?
Yeah, and it's got the 4-season body, so, that we wouldn't be converting sanders over anymore, and such, so. That body is the sander, there's a sander.
Oh,
within
is
it.
that right?
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
4-season body, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's,
And that would do
Pretty
13, the sander would do 13 too?
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, so like I said, for the park, and
so,
then the few developments right outside the park, see, there's a couple off of Warren and such, that's a route, so that's one of our routes.
Yeah.
So that truck would be there, and one would be designated.
So
for
what's your
Route
worst,
13.
worst route? We need the big truck.
Where you need the big truck, I would say,
13?
Townsend Hill, no,
Oh,
not
okay,
13,
yeah,
because
yeah.
Route 13 is, it's basically its own route.
Straight, yeah.
So I would say Townsend Hill, and West Townsend, Lunenburg Road, Bayberry Hill.
Yeah, yeah.
Hamilton Hill,
How about Highland?
so,
that's part of Townsend Hill.
Okay.
so you see, once you get these into the thing, you rotate 3 of these in, right, over the next 2 years,
Yep.
right? And then fiscal year 27, you are gonna have to replace
A big truck.
one of the 6-wheelers
Yep.
right now. So this is replacing one. How many 6-wheelers do you have now in your fleet?
6.
6.
6.
Okay.
So we had just got one, well, we were approved a couple of years ago, but that's how long it took to get it.
Sure, like a fire
Yeah.
truck,
Oh,
right?
my goodness, it was unbelievable.
Sure.
These can be built in no time, through HP Fairfield. That's who we just got.
And so we're not gonna be left in the dark with no 6 wheels to do what we need to do then?
No.
We
No,
wouldn't
they
get
just
2
got
of
one,
these.
No.
so.
Right.
And then we keep two 6-wheelers on hand for our bigger jobs during the summer as well,
Yeah.
hauling dirt.
Okay,
And then for the big storms, like when we gotta go back the day after or the day or two after and push back snowbank and, we're talking those every few year storms where,
yeah,
you get a couple feet of
you gotta
snow.
push it
So
back,
You gotta
yeah.
push it, wing it back and shelf it back and such.
So you're going from 6 big wheels, right? 6 wheels.
Yep.
6 wheels?
Yeah, yeah.
I got it.
6-wheelers.
6-wheelers. Boy, did I sound like an idiot right there. You just got one a few years ago. You're
Yep.
gonna get another one in 27. You're gonna get 1, 2 in your plan. I'm talking about 1, 2, 3 of these international CVs that replace them, right? So
Yep.
that makes 4, 5. So are you still gonna need one more?
I wonder if that's where
Or are
they,
you gonna be fine with 2 ultimately?
that's 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and there's the 6th one there, because the 5th one is the one that we just got. So we got 2 here for FY 25,
Mhm.
so there's 2. FY 26, there's 3.
Oh,
big
okay.
6-wheeler.
Oh, I didn't see,
And the
okay.
one
Follow
you
me.
just got, yeah, I counted my math wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you will be up.
I thought,
Here's your plan.
thought you caught me
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Yes, you do get 6
Yeah.
and you replace.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know, you don't have to know, and don't care if you might not know. These will probably go out for bond, so it'll be over, is it usually a 5-year period, a 10-year period, you know?
to lease them?
No, not to lease, a bond to pay for them.
That I'm not sure.
Oh, so your figures are on a lease?
No,
Oh, okay.
No, they
Alright.
did a lease
Okay.
once.
To buy out.
For the,
Yeah,
for
okay,
the
yeah,
car loan, but
They're usually 5 years.
Yeah.
our bond rate is so low, we would do it on a bond at this point. We're not even close to a bond limit,
Yeah.
in
Oh,
my
good.
opinion.
Yeah,
So,
great.
so that's what, in my
Let's
opinion,
keep
that's
it
where we
that
should go,
way.
right? How we should be thinking of
Good
things. Okay, you
then,
did a
again-
great job
and again, they're
presenting, I like
smaller.
your photos, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
We
to,
always
They
count
don't
on you
really
guys
do-
for photos, actually.
Yeah, they don't really do any justice.
I like
but
to see the 5-year plans in place, so that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay,
Okay,
Beautiful. Do you guys want to keep these?
I'm good if.
yeah,
unless
I'd like to
the
keep one,
ladies-
because I gotta bring them to the
Yeah.
other selectmen, so.
Yep.
Makes sense.
well, I'll
Thank you.
keep one for pretty mom,
Okay.
they might wanna see it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Good to
that was
go.
good.
You're good to go. We'll
Excellent.
let you know
Thank you, sir.
how
Thank you.
everything turns out.
Enjoy your evening.
Okay.
Okay,
I think I saw the chief come here, so he might be here
Oh, he might be
already.
Is he, I saw, there's a cruiser
You
out there, I don't know if
know,
he's got that.
we have to keep those roads clear and clean.
Oh, I know, and I like those little units, but
Yeah, I like the
you
idea
had a
that-
good point about,
I just, you know,
do we do one first
But I
or
did,
not?
I think probably, he said he's been in touch with other towns that are using.
Right, that have had a
So-
good feedback.
So it's not that he doesn't have a feedback.
Right, right,
No.
right.
I
like
never
buying a
like
new
to
car, you know,
anyway,
do you
no.
wait a year? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know what you mean.
So how you been?
Oh,
Good,
Good.
very busy.
we have to end the meeting. Oh, no, we can't end the meeting, we just put it on pause. I forgot it's still in session.
No, good. I'm busy with the Historical Society and
How's that going?
it's going okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming along, so we hope for the best.
When you happy with the design of the new church and stuff?
I do like it.
Do you?
I do.
Do you, are you unhappy because it changed? a
Okay,
little
we are
bit?
going to pause the meeting,
Okay, no, just
waiting for
my
the
question.
chief. We've asked him to come at 4:45, so we are just going to pause the meeting, and we'll open up the meeting again when the police chief arrives.
So we're on
Can we
TV.
stop the recording, please?
Okay, stand by.
Thank you. Hi, welcome back. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. We still have a roll call, which Jerry and Mark and myself are present. The meeting, it continues to be recorded. And as I stated, because we couldn't have the chief here last week, the police chief here last week, we have added him to this week's meeting to go over his capital plan. Take it away, Chief.
Sure, sure. So I was in for a preliminary meeting we had back a few months ago, I think prior to the holidays. And everything that we had discussed at that point in time is what I put into my plan. There were some alterations on some of the figures. I'll draw your attention to fiscal '25, which is the year we're talking about. Our vehicle leases, I put in for a $95,000 lease payment. That's a pretty significant increase from our last year's payment of about $10,000. These increases are due largely to the fact of the switchover at the factory level going to the EV models has increased the cost of the units right out of the gate. There's also some increased leasing fees due to the interest rates in the country, as we all know, as consumers, some supply chain issues and those types of things. We are still going to try as hard as we can to bring in 4 vehicles at that lease payment. I've got them roughly priced out. The lag between ordering and delivering sometimes can have an effect on that. So I shot where I thought we would be when I could put my order in. We actually have a few on hold, so I'm hoping we will be able to get that. So that's my one my one capital ask. That one you may remember, and this has caused some confusion at town meeting a few different times, is this is actually funded through my regular budget, through the tax levy. This is not from our article as a capital planning committee. We put it in there for purposes of planning and so that you can see what our capital is. The long and short of it is vehicles for us need to be replaced probably at a clip that we are at. If you were to make it a yearly thing, you're looking at pretty close to doubling that line. It would probably be, I would
The
think.
95?
Yeah, probably thinking it, at the very least, I think their sticker price is pretty close to 70 by the time they roll out. I think this leasing figure gets us about $250,000 in lease in capital to purchase these vehicles. So it's an extremely expensive endeavor. What we've done in the past 9 years, if you let this one go through, so if you looked at this is the third time we've leased, we have stabilized costs, so at least we know what we're spending for a 3-year period. It will not exceed that. And if you look at the last 2 leases that we've had, and I did study the line extensively, both for this meeting, but also for my normal budget meetings, we have done that. We have stabilized that cost. So for the life of these leases, which is 3 years, I know what that lease payment's going to be.
All right.
So that is that. On the flip side of that, in addition to the efficiencies that not having to outfit cars every year provide, meaning I do not have to do the research and development, I'm able to stay uniform within my fleet without these model changes and stuff that could happen that would make it very difficult for us to maintain a uniform fleet. That meaning a guy could jump in one car, emergency gears in a different spot than another. That can be very, very difficult for us. In addition to those efficiencies, I will point to our vehicle maintenance line in our normal budget. And I know you folks attend those meetings, so we'll have this conversation again. We have stabilized our maintenance costs. Now I am able to project what it costs to maintain a vehicle, and my unanticipated stuff is really limited. I want to say I budget anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a year for unanticipated mechanical that's not covered by warranty, which is really quite remarkable given the fact we have a 9-car fleet.
Right.
It's a fairly good thing. Other than that, I know how many oil changes we'll do. I know how many sets of tires we're going to do. I know how much brakes cost and when they need to be replaced. That stuff I can plan for. So we have really transitioned that line into a more stable line of vehicle maintenance with very, very few surprises. Every now and then one will creep through. The quality of vehicles is what they are in 2023. But generally speaking, I think we've succeeded in that regard. So it does have a number of positives. And I think in the 9-year history now, that's a pretty good body of work for us to advance as far as supporting this program. The only other thing in fiscal 25 is the records management project, which I've brought to this group in the past. It's been a number of years in a row. We have seen an increased responsibility in public records requests. Our employee is extremely busy. This week alone, we're dealing with requests for every public records request that we've ever given out for body cam footage in 2023 from a news organization. We have 4 or 5 long-term public records requests going on at any given day. We have legacy cases at our department, the missing girl, cold case homicides, the Danny LaPlante case. These types of cases draw significant interest, and we are in a constant state of responding to public records requests. The records at the building, I've made this case before. I just feel as though I owe you an explanation again. This is a liability to our department. It's a significant amount of time and effort that goes into maintaining those records and then preparing them to be released publicly. There are privacy implications, there are legal implications, there's a lot of liabilities in this. This would allow us to digitize these records in such a manner that we can run algorithms and AI that will help us redact and get them suitable for public release so we do not have as many man-hours logged into these constant requests. In addition, it'll allow us to set up an algorithm that will maintain a purging system consistent with state law so that we're not hanging on to records we're not required to hang on to. That's a pretty significant thing. In the building, I have records since the formation of the department, really. There's very, very little gaps in time that I have. Poor record keeping over the years and moving them around the building has taken its toll on those records. And as the keeper of the records, I take that responsibility seriously. And I do need to digitize those records. I've been saying it for the 5th year. I think this is the 5th time I've asked for this.
Been on for 5 years
Yeah.
and heard it every
Every
year.
year, yeah.
We were
And we
talking
hear
about
you.
it
We
before
hear
you
you.
came, so you don't have to
Definitely.
sell us that.
Yeah,
What I need to understand, and we can speak directly to it, how or if it dovetails to the conversion in the squad room.
Yeah, so we have put together a plan to change the layout of the building to meet today's standards as opposed to having a 24/7 operation that we had back in the day. The way that floor plan works is to accommodate a 24-hour dispatch center that no longer exists. So there's redundancy, there's some wasted office space, there's some repurposing that needs to take place that never took place. But in order to adequately do that, in my view, I think we have to deal with the records issue first. So we know what we're dealing with in terms of what we need for record space and what we need to process records and what that space looks like. I think we're better positioned to do that today now that we've had some time to see what this is going to look like, particularly in the area of public records requests for body camera footage, which are
You get
significant.
a lot, huh?
We do,
Just in this
yeah.
town. Wow.
We do. We get quite a bit of footage, and it's excellent for transparency. It's really
Sure.
helped us
Yeah.
in terms of understanding what our people are doing and what is happening to our people in the field. It's an incredibly positive program, and I think to a man, the agency would say that same thing.
Sure.
So that said, I think it dovetails in terms of it allows me to understand what we need for adequate record space heretofore. We have dramatically reduced our use of paper in the building. It'll never go away, just like all of us know. We still have to maintain some level of paper, as you can see by looking at the desk. But that said, we have dramatically reduced the need when we have the scanning capabilities and electronic storage. We've asked Public Records in Boston to store our records that way and has received permission on a number of occasions to store our records in that fashion. It will dramatically reduce our need for physical space for these records. In addition to allowing us to digitize them, will allow us to purge them easier because we just set an algorithm and dates and classifications that's consistent with the public records laws about when we have to and how long we have to hang on to stuff. So I guess the long and short of the answer is I have a hard time solidifying and advancing a very tried and true floor plan when I don't really know what we need for records moving
Gotcha.
forward.
Okay.
So I think that's how it dovetails. And to be honest with you, I've been kicking out that renovation kind of project every year because I don't feel comfortable telling you 60 grand will work and this is exactly what we want to do when we're still kind of monkeying around with what we're doing with the records. At this point in time, we've consolidated the records to 2 or 3 smaller rooms, which is really helpful. But there's a reason that it's centralized records, right? They should be centralized. And we're getting better every day and every year. Our records clerk does a phenomenal job of helping us in that regard. But this scanning project really is a necessity to move forward and get us to a place where we really need to be. The remaining project is the installation of a restroom on the 2nd floor. Again, we have offices up there. We do a great deal of work on the 2nd floor, and we have to walk up to the opposite end of the building and down a set of stairs to use the restroom. And installing one on the 2nd floor has been in the capital plan for a decade, I
I was
believe.
gonna say more than
Yeah.
the.
And now the records have been removed from that room for the most part. So converting it to a restroom, again, I think would be much easier once I know what's happening with records. But again, I'm hesitant to do anything with that issue unresolved.
We agree.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely agree on the 35, absolutely.
And I also believe that it should be, so town hall cannot use your.
Right, we gotta keep it
projects.
separate. Like,
They
we
keep
keep trying
them
to put the 2 together and it's just gonna.
Oh, I didn't know that was an
Falling.
issue. I mean.
Yeah,
it's
that's what
happening.
they tried to do last year, and then, we can get
No.
the library done, and the senior center done, and this done, and with the
No,
police
I don't
station, and
agree with that.
and then
No.
it just fell by the
Well, if they
wayside.
wanna put town hall and the library together, it's one thing, but I just don't believe that the police records should be.
Probably
Okay,
not like
so-
that in any other town.
I mean, I think if you prioritize these issues, we all have our own need to digitize records. I mean,
Of course.
we know this, the archivists before us did it when they went microfiche. This has been done before. We're not the first people to do these in our often respected offices. So if we're looking at prioritizing digitized records, I would submit to you that some of the records we have are more sensitive. Some of the records that we have a higher calling and a higher obligation to care for in a certain way, because again, we have people in prison based on those records. We haven't continuing to have long-standing investigations that we're required to hold on to forever. So I think it's a different purposes for each of these records, and I don't mean to say that their projects aren't important and aren't a
They're not as
priority.
sensitive as you said.
But I would advance it. I'm here every year asking as a major focal point. This year, aside from that police vehicle, which is just simply like turning the gas on, we need electricity in our building. I need cars on the road. But our first project outside of that very necessity is this records management
I
project.
want to make sure I am supporting this project, but I do want to make sure that you understand the other side, well, you understand the importance of it. The other side of it, if we don't get to the other records, they could be permanently lost. Some of the books in the library per se, we're losing them day by day by day. You know, there could be a first edition Edgar Allan Poe who is known to have walked these streets in that we will, not saying, I just want to be
Yeah,
the devil's advocate there.
Certainly, as an amateur
You know.
genealogist, I'm sensitive to that as well.
Yeah.
I've done my fair share of research on my family
Right,
history,
family
and I
histories and
understand
stuff
that
like that.
need to.
I'm
I
not
do.
saying I don't support what you're saying, I don't, but I just want the people out there in TV land know that.
It just really
that
seems
there's
to me that
another side.
minimal amount of money.
Yeah,
You know?
You know I support this.
No, no,
I just
I
wanted to
understand.
make
I
sure the
totally
other
do.
side is right.
I'm just, looking at, it's $35,000. Let's get this off of the
Done,
list
yeah.
that we've had
That's
here
exactly
right.
forever. And it's important.
So I don't understand, and so, but I don't understand a lot of things, so I just need you to help me understand. So it always was to me that if you leased it to purchase a car, that was because you didn't have the money to buy a car. That was like never made sense financially, right? To me, as a town, the better way was to buy the car with a bond over 5 years. Bond rate would be much lower, and you'd still know what the fixed amount was because it would be divided by the 5 years, and you would be go. So can you explain why the option to lease?
Sure, I think purchasing the way that you're describing makes perfect sense. I think the approval process for that and the volatility of that payment over time is what's pushed departments in the way of doing the leasing. It's an easier process to actually go through the procurement process with it. It doesn't take a bond, which it's a very, very significant town meeting vote to
Yes.
accomplish that. And then very similar to the wreckage project, it gets elbowed out of the way by other priorities. And
Okay,
because of that, then you end up with, well, now we need 300 grand this year, as opposed to 95 each year. So yeah, everything you're saying is correct. There are other ways to finance this, that is for sure. And there's interest rates that will probably be lower when you consider interest versus lease to own. I'm sure that there may be some math in there that would be beneficial to do that. But without the certainty that that would pass at town meeting, it becomes incredibly difficult.
and
It would
that's why this
almost-
is also in your budget
Correct.
instead of in capital planning.
It would almost be like going to the floor at town meeting with my electric bill. Really, and I say that in jest, and I get it is funny, but it is that integral to our being able to do our job. Not to mention the cascading effect of an older fleet on our vehicles. I was advised today that Townsend Ford doesn't have warranty mechanics on staff as of now. So I'm shuttling my cars out to Air for warranty work, or Nashua at best Ford. Well, the guys that are doing that get paid and have their workers' comp rates affixed as if they're police officers, not taxi drivers, and certainly not literally men, right? So we are paying a premium to have these things moved all over the place. So as they get older and that requirement for mechanical work becomes higher, there's an efficiency with having vehicles down.
Yeah.
Today, for instance, we were down 2 vehicles in our fleet of 9, right? Well, if I've got a couple of guys out on detail that are on 119 or on a busy road, they need a vehicle. And then I've got 2 guys patrolling at minimum, maybe 3. Now we're talking about, I have no cars in the parking lot. So when you talk about having a vehicle down for repairs or what have you, it does have a cascading effect on operations. Not to mention the volatility of my maintenance budget becomes difficult, because then we're gambling about whether or not a transmission is gonna go. We're gambling
You've
about
got
whether
it
or
more
not.
than that
Right.
lease.
100%, yeah. So for us, we do not generally hold on to vehicles past that magic 100,000 mile mark, where I can show you in very black and white terms, and you're all invited. I'm more than happy to show maintenance and how we catalog these things at the department. I can show you an absolute turn of direction like you wouldn't believe when you get to that 85, 90,000 mark, where I do start to encounter these mechanical problems. No more warranty work, it's all us. So we do have a roll of the dice, and there are some that will get you to 115,000 without a lot of work at all.
Yeah.
But then there's the ones that were built on Friday or Monday, right?
Yeah.
And you know what that
So
means,
as
and now
is,
I'm
yeah.
stuck with the $3,000 or $4,000 in bills that we didn't take care of. And had I had that, that is one of these monthly lease payments. You
Right.
took this 95,000 and divided it by 12, just one of those problems, and that's one of the months of leasing costs. So we are
Yeah,
exchanging,
gotcha.
there's a lot of convenience in there for sure, but there's a lot of sound financial thought process that goes into it
Is
in
there-
terms of predictability.
And you
Is
get,
there a penalty for mileage in this lease?
No, we own it at the end. Yeah, we own them anyway, so there's no mileage. I think we pay them $1 and we get the vehicle. We keep the vehicles.
Okay, yeah, so what do you do with the vehicle later? Do you trade them in?
So the way that it works is at the very end we do. So we will have 4 come in and 4 will come out. The 4 that come out of our fleet
Yeah,
will get traded in to offset and lower this lease cost,
I see,
right?
Okay.
yeah,
The ones that were newer out of the ones that remain go into backup status, and the new ones that come in go into primary status. So our older vehicles will be used for the details, maybe
Yeah.
for the school resource officer, but the primary ones that are running the road all the time will be the new ones. Now, that's somewhat of an inexact science because we do manage the miles.
yeah,
And we want to make sure that the ones we roll out have 100,000 and I'm not rolling one out with 50,000 miles on it. So for the most part, we roll out the oldest tired iron. And when the new ones come in, they replace the ones that were primary and then the primary ones move to a secondary status. So it works pretty good. You can generally see it, you start at 0, 30, 60, 90. And then when you get out, you're at the same thing. Now you're at 0, 30, 60. All right, great. 3 more years, now you're at 30, 60, 90. It's time that $100,000 mile one, that's the one that goes.
yeah. So what do they do a year approximately? I'm just curious.
It's hard to say because we balance it out
40?
over the fleet. But yeah, that would probably be a low estimate.
Okay, really?
So we got to balance a little
You
bit.
get your
Yeah,
money's worth then.
guy on an average shift does 100 miles, maybe 85 to 100 miles,
Okay.
times 3 times a
Times
day.
3, yeah.
So it's a management thing. A lot of times we're saying, hey, we're packing miles on that one. So let's reassign this one. We're going to be using this one for a little
Yeah.
bit. This one will be backup just to manage the miles properly.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to leverage having those warranties for as long as I possibly can.
That's perfect. That's
So
that's
I
great
know
idea.
the ones that are actively being used, I want to
Yeah.
make sure I'm caring for them in the way that maximizes our ability to use that warranty to offset any sort of unanticipated mechanical problems. But yeah.
Just out of curiosity, there's been a change, right? I think I was the one that sent it to you, but I didn't read it too much, about the requirement that you have hybrid vehicles, right?
Yeah.
But with as much driving as you have, do you think that would save you money going non-hybrid?
So going non-hybrid is meaning to full gasoline or full
Yeah.
electric or what have
No,
you?
full gasoline.
I don't know. And I think
Yeah,
the
know.
jury is
How you
out
ever
with this.
gonna know?
Cost
So-
more to manufacture
We
too,
are
right?
studying the issue. I have a friend of mine who's got a few of them on the road as we speak, and I think Mass State Police has some on the road as we speak as well. There are some cold weather difficulties that we're encountering, but there's also the straight kind of, you get this many gallons for this many kilowatts. That's still an elusive figure, even though they can be done. We are in the process of trying to understand that. So as of today, and I think that that's why they kicked that mandate out a little while longer, is while we're still trying to absorb this information to see. Because in addition to the fuel or energy, I should say, component and cost, there's also the maintenance cost. It's different. It's a different vehicle to maintain. You do have different things to maintain. That doesn't necessarily mean you lose all maintenance costs because rubber on road still,
Yeah.
brakes are still there. There's still some components that need it. So I'm studying some of my colleagues that do have electric vehicles, full electric, and I'm studying the ones that are hybrid. I'm trying to see if I can start to do the math to see what I would have to ask for offsets, because we'd be quick to lower the energy line, but then we may say, ooh, yeah, but we needed to adjust an offset over here because maintenance is a little bit more expensive. I wonder what those batteries are like to maintain.
Yeah.
I wonder what the brakes are like to maintain. And probably most importantly, I wonder what the warranties look like. And what happens when things go wrong, and how quick can I get those things back in business? Listen, our vehicles now, there's 1 million mechanics, right? I mean, I can get one back in business in no time, as long as I'm willing to write a fat enough check. Is that the same for an electric vehicle? We're having these issues with keeping mechanics on staff and all
Yeah.
these other things that I'm seeing. I wonder what that would look like, where they go to get maintained, how that all looks like. It's so fresh, I'm tentative
Okay.
to make any risks. Now, we do have a multi-year plan about this. Got the canopy going in with the infrastructure to
Right.
put in EV chargers if that comes, because I think this has to be a 1-2 punch. I think we have to think about those things as much as we think about what we may be saving in fuel costs, because I do think that there are some offsets, certainly at the
Townsend
beginning.
Ford put quite a project in there. with their charges just recently.
Right.
So that, I don't, it's,
And Mr. Slagle can speak probably to more authority relative to this project, but the way we operated and went back and forth with the design build was to make sure that the infrastructure is in place, and not necessarily the charges themselves, but we're not gonna have to redo work. We want the proper conduit in there, so we can put in a couple of charges if we need that. There is some thought that needs to go into that as well. How many do I need? Where do I access them? How does that actually work? How do we rotate that? It's not as simple as just pulling in and gassing up and pulling out.
right.
So we've got some work to do and some thinking to do when it comes to, incorporating that, electrical or hybrid for that matter.
Okay, so we have what you submitted, 1-4, we're gonna keep this, put it as part of the record. As you know, we are gonna take the $95 and say we didn't approve it. You have
It
to
comes out of
absorb
your
that
budget
into your budget,
Right.
but that's what you want us to do.
Right, yep.
And, but I wanted to make sure we're all on the same page.
I think the way that they did that last time was that the committee recommended the expenditure, but that it be funded.
Yeah, it's
through
not that we
the-
don't,
Exactly,
it's
and
not
that's-
that we
and
don't
that's how
approve,
it-
it's just
how-
spent
how
differently.
we'll-
And I should have
Sort of
noted,
like, some of the ambulance.
Absolutely, same deal.
Yeah.
and I should have noted that the figures in 28 and 29 are complete and absolute guesses on my behalf. I
Right,
put $100,000 in
So-
there just so that if we're doing any long-term planning at the end of that capital plan, we can kind of
Mhm.
think
We
about
can
that.
figure out
Who knows
where-
what
What you were
that looks
saying
like.
likely be more, correct?
Right, yeah, it's hard to say.
okay, thank you very much.
Excellent,
Chief.
thank you
I'm
very
glad
much.
you're coming in for the last minute, and greatly appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome.
Stay safe.
I will take wait a minute, our next meeting is going to be January 30th, Tuesday at 4 PM. We are going to revise the agenda and add the fire chief to that agenda. I will get the revised agenda out today. We will put him on, and
And
we
who else do
also,
we have? Fire and what?
we have,
Who?
excuse me, I'll have to look, I forgot who was up.
We haven't done maintenance or facilities yet.
Yeah.
either.
Maintenance for the facilities, fire chief, and counseling on the aging
Oh, yeah.
will be
Three.
on that
On the
agenda.
30th, yeah.
January 30th, 4 PM.
Okay.
All right.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion that we adjourn at 5:07.
All those approve?
Do you second?
Yeah, second.
All those approve?
Um,
Mark Hussey,
Jeremy
yes?
Stickis?
And Teresa Moore say yes.